Serious, Redditors who have completely ruined somebody's life, intentionally or by accident, whether they deserved it or not. What happened and why did you do it? I built homes in Juarez and Oaxaca for families that were living in scrap shacks. These regions became even more inundated by cartel violence over the years. Some of these families were murdered by the cartels for their homes. The road to heck is paved with good intentions. That would bother me. I had an butthole professor who would line us all up and grade us on our appearances, paying special attention to all the ladies in the class when he made really awful, derogatory comments on our appearances. It was a journalism class, and his excuse was that appearances are important. One day, he lined us all up and wouldn't tell us why he ordered us the way that he did, but all the attractive female students were at the front of the line. He walked down the row patting each of our heads and giving us a grade, like he was playing duck duck goose with grades. A, B, B, C, D, F, F. I was an F. I suddenly realized that this crazy man had the potential to destroy my really hard-earned perfect GPA based on really unfair criteria. So I decided to do something about it. I started recording him in class, and I assembled the best hits of the most offensive, gender-based, foul things he said. I also fact-checked his resume, which he'd given to us on the first day of class, and it turned out half of it was fabricated. He had virtually no journalism experience at all, although he had played a reporter on TV in several primetime TV shows. I brought my tape and fact-checking data to the dean. They let him finish the semester, but they intervened on grading and terminated his contract at the end of the semester. He never worked as a professor again. How the frick did this butthole get a teaching job? Like what the actual frick? I confronted my mom when I suspected she was having an affair with an underage boy. She denied it and my family hated me for causing drama and repeatedly accusing her. Eventually she confessed and went to prison. My dad stood by her. I saw him cry for the first time ever, but she still treated him like crap. He visited her every single visitation. After being released, she was on strict probation for years. She wasn't able to return to her job. My dad finally divorced her because she was still selfish and always blamed other people for what happened. They had a lot of debt at the time and now she is impoverished. But she never said sorry or took responsibility for what she did. So I try not to feel too guilty. I thought that my brother might have been posting about our mom when I read this, but then realized your story ends different. After years of suffering through my brother's idiocy and downright illegal behavior, I turned him in for taking out multiple credit cards in my name. I was trying to buy a house, and I had no idea why I had 3 credit cards instead of 1. Even more importantly, I didn't know why 2 of them were maxed out. He broke into my parents' safe. They actually used my mom's freaking day as a combinations, got all of my personal information, and took out credit cards. He did it to my parents too. This was after he had stolen jewelry, sentimental grandmother's jewelry, right out of my drawer. He threatened to stab my mom. He stole one of my dad's work vans. Somehow he managed not to go to jail, but he's on probation with a long record. I sent an anonymous tip into the police that this guy had a significant amount of drugs in a hidden compartment in his car and that he regularly sold them to underage teens. I also tipped them off that he was driving without this vehicle around without a valid license in case they needed a reason to pull him over. These tips, inevitably, led to him being investigated, arrested, charged, and sentenced to a significant number of years in prison, both for the drugs and other things that were discovered about him. Why did I do it? He was in a relationship with a family member of mine for several years and was emotionally abusive and controlling to her throughout. No matter what he did to her, she refused to leave him. Then she discovered he was cheating and confronted him, at which point the abuse turned physical. He became increasingly violent after that. She didn't want to report any of it because she didn't want to start any drama with his family and she didn't want anyone to know what was going on. Embarrassed or ashamed, I guessed. After a particularly violent incident that put her in the hospital, I thought that if I didn't do something then next time he would kill her. So, I took the information I had, that she had confided to me about previously. I found a public computer, and I used it to contact that police. I made sure I included as many details as possible so they'd know it wasn't a joke. Not too long after that, they showed up at his door with a warrant to search his car and things went on from there. She never put it together that I was the one who alerted the police. I will never tell her, either. A few years after he went away, she met a genuinely great guy who treats her well and she's happier than I ever saw her. I don't regret what I did at all. This had such a satisfying ending. Good for you that you didn't get violent with him. I don't know if I'd be able to come to a non-violent resolution with someone that repeatedly physically hurt a family member. I sued a couple for everything they had, and as we near the end of it, they've told me I've ruined their families' lives. Backstory: they were my dad's estate's executors, mom already dead, and became my guardians. They told me I was adopted, which wasn't true since it turns out I was a crown ward and I lived with them from when my dad died on the 8th birthday until they kicked me out around 16/17. Turns out that's when the estate funds exhausted themselves, so I had help and had them served. Evidence points out they used the money on themselves and were really awful caretakers of both me and the estate. I'm 24 now and a lot had happened, most of it not good. This should be settled at some point in December 2015 after 5 years of judicial process. I don't feel bad that their lives are ruined, but I don't feel vindictive. If anything, I find it sad how pathetic they became to steal from an orphan. I think I bring this up because my mom died today 22 years ago, and to me, these people are the focal point of why I might seem extrovert as crap, but I can't hold on to a meaningful relationship for the life of me. Also, I think the Batman references are hilarious. My friends and I make jokes about it all the time, so the humor isn't lost on me, and I'll do my best to answer any questions and advice. Some I can't because this is an ongoing litigation, and I'll post the results on a legal advice on the 2nd of December. Hopefully. You didn't ruin their lives. They ruined your life. Then they got caught. In middle school, my friend and I really got into catfishing, but back then we didn't know it had a name. We would make fake MySpace profiles and get on chat rooms pretending to be other people. There used to be a cell phone company called Alltel. They had prepaid phones with unlimited texting as long as you had minutes, and you could change your number just by calling and following automated instructions. So, we would always talk to all these people pretending to be someone else, and when someone busted us or got too weird, we'd just change our number. Sometimes we would even switch phones over the weekend and pretend to be each other's pretend identities. I don't know why. We were weird dumb freaking kids. Well, my friend ended up with this extra weird dude. She told him she was 15, which was actually 2 years older than she really was. He was a serious pervert and wanted her to do some really weird crap, like send him naked pictures while she's laying in her parents' bed. Pretty much everything he wanted her to do involved sneaking around her parents, like he got off on knowing she could be caught by them at any time. Of course, she never did any of that because he thought she was a petite blonde white girl, but she was really Native American. Then he starts wanting her to sneak out and meet him. It was more like he wanted to sneak in through her bedroom window and frick her while her parents slept in the next room. Like I said, we were freaking dumbasses and decided to take the opportunity to do our own version of To Catch a Predator. But we didn't actually want to meet the guy, so we sent him next door to my mean butt neighbor's house. He once shot my dog with a BB gun for peeing in his driveway. It was the reason behind our decision. He drove from an area code on the other side of the state. Don't know exactly what town he lived in. We turned out all the lights and ran around trying to peek out of the curtains to see, but we never really got a good look. He started calling her phone back to back and we started hearing shouting, then gunshots. It did not come from a BB gun. My parents woke up and we watched the guy get taken away in an ambulance and his truck was impounded. My parents were really freaked out. They thought our neighbor got robbed. I don't know what that guy told my neighbor or the police he was doing there. I never found out anything about it, but I'm going to guess he didn't tell them he was there trying to frick a 15-year-old. I'm not sure if it ruined his life, but I'm sure it fricked it up quite a bit. This all happened over a decade ago. One thing I know for sure is I'm monitoring my children's online activities. TLDR. Friend and I met a pervert online and sent him to my neighbor's house. He got shot. Old middle school theater teacher of mine had been sleeping around with students once he moved on to teaching high school. He started making moves on my then girlfriend, so I sent a couple emails around that school district about him. He's divorced and in prison. He was teaching at a high school when he got arrested. Thank you. When I was 15, I had a teacher send me this long email professing how in love with me he was in detail with some graphic content. I went to my favorite teacher, the only adult I was close with, who sent me to the guidance counselor who got police involved. It turned into a whole undercover sting. I think I'm using that word right. The police, through my email, exchanged emails with him for months. Eventually there was a trial and he went to jail. He had a wife and a daughter my age. I still to this day feel awful that he couldn't take her to the ice cream store or his daughter's graduation registered diddler. I think he mostly deserved it, and I'm still glad it happened to me and not somebody who wouldn't have had the strength and support to handle the situation. But a part of me will always secretly feel a little guilty and wonder what if I had just ignored the email. About a decade ago I lived next to a gay couple. One day while getting ready for work I heard breaking glass and decided someone must have dropped something in the kitchen next door. Only the sound of glass breaking carried on over the next several minutes, which was enough to alert even me that something fishy was going on. I looked outside and discovered a teenage boy halfway in through their bathroom window. I told him I'd already called the cops and he needed to leave. He did, and then I genuinely called the cops. 20 minutes later a police car turned up and a couple of constables started looking around the property. Then another car turned up, and another, and then a van, which seemed like overkill for investigating a failed burglary. After an hour a cop came over to my place to take a statement and asked if I'd ever noticed the spiky plants in the garden behind my neighbor's house. Oops. After work that day one of my flatmates told me the neighbors wanted to see me to say thanks for reporting the burglary, and would I mind popping over. I was a little concerned that maybe they just wanted to knife me for getting them in trouble with the law, but I thought I'd better talk to them and see how it was going to be. They actually did want to say thanks, which made me feel a little worse about unintentionally narsing on them. TLDR. Tried to do my neighbors a favor and accidentally led the cops to their herb garden. Sounds like my old bosses. Two old queens. One smoked almost constantly to alleviate stress and the other collected nice things like china and glassware and loved gardening. When I was 11 I took part in a judo tournament. It was the fight for the first place and I threw him to the ground, but he fell very wrong, breaking his neck, resulting in him being paralyzed. Saw him a couple of times afterwards, because he lived in my neighborhood. He never smiled or even looked a bit happy after that incident. There was always this deep sadness in his eyes. 11-year-old me threw the prize for the first place into a nearby lake. It still haunts me to this day. During my third year of college I became extremely close, like family close, with a bunch of my neighbors, guys and girls alike, in my apartment complex. We all hung out almost every night. We would have dinner together all the time and take the bus downtown to the bars multiple nights a week. One night on the bus we met a guy named Isaac who was really quiet but friendly enough if engaged in conversation. We invited him to come with us and had a blast drinking all night. It was pretty obvious that Isaac didn't have many friends. He was slightly awkward and new to town. We started inviting him to hang out with us and had a good time with him for a few weeks, until he brought a friend to a party we were throwing. It was a party for a football game and there were probably 30-40 people in attendance. I didn't see what actually happened, but Katie, girl hosting the party, kicked them out. Apparently Isaac and his friend were about to shoot H in the middle of the party and everyone got really bugged out. Over the next few days Isaac starts texting all of us to apologize for bringing H to the party, but everyone was ignoring him. I was the stoner of the group and smoked and hooked Isaac up a few times without the rest of the group. I didn't know what to do. I smoked and drank like any other college student, but have lost more than a few friends to H and didn't want to be associated with it at all. Isaac realized that everyone was ignoring him and started hitting me up like crazy. I'm a pretty nice guy and I think he figured if anyone out of the group would hang out with him, it'd be me. I felt torn but didn't respond. A few days later I ran into Isaac downtown between classes and he tried to make plans to hang out with me. At the time I didn't have the heart to tell him I wasn't interested in being his friend anymore, so I just told him to hit me up sometime. He did. and again I ignored him. Fast forward 2 days. Isaac is dead. We never heard what the official cause of death was, but one of our group's girlfriend's cousin's boyfriend or something or other was an emergency responder and said something about a suicide involving H and ice cold bath water. Whatever happened, Isaac killed himself. He really wasn't a bad guy, and his suicide has deeply troubled me over the past 7 years. I have always wondered if I had just reached out to him and tried to help him with his addiction, or just be his friend, maybe he'd be alive. If you read this, thanks. I've only told a few people about this and it feels good to put it all into drunken words. I was the security manager at a club. We took up all drinks at 2 AM, but were in no hurry to kick people out, so we just let the music play as the crowd dwindled, usually closing at 2:45-3. We wouldn't let any new people in though, so I'm at the door. It's 2:30 or so, and 2 guys want in. Keep telling them no. They go from annoying little brats that just aren't used to mommy telling them no, to yo, we are in the army dog, we'll frick you up if you don't let us in. Keep telling them no. One of the bouncers walks up to me from inside and asks if he should start emptying trash cans. I turn to him to tell him yes, then turn back towards the guys to see a fist about 2 inches from my face. A nice sucker punch and then they bail. That other bouncer and I chase them for probably 3/4 of a mile. We're now away from the bar district in a somewhat residential area. They hop a metal fence into someone's backyard and hide under the person's car. We try to goad them into coming out and fighting, but they just sit there. So we call the cops. As soon as the cop car arrives they try to run. Huge mistake. Cop ends up semi-running over one as he chases him down in his car, then cuffs him. The second one actually couldn't get back over that metal fence at first, so cop runs back and yells at him to get over the fence, all with gun drawn and pointed, cuffs the second one. Probably like 2 months later I finally get a call for the court date. Show up. The DO asks if I want to just drop the charges since they're just kids. I was also a kid at the time, only like 20. I say no, I would like to press whatever charges possible. Turns out they weren't in the army, but were in the process of applying and doing the tests and all that. One of them cried to the judge, asking for mercy, saying that if anything went on his record they wouldn't let him in the army. The other bouncer that saw it was there, I was there, and the cop was there for the resisting arrest type charges. Judge told them with 3 witnesses their odds were quite low, so they could either accept charges with probation, or go to trial with a jury. They accepted the charges. I assume that means they couldn't join the army, but don't know for sure. I don't think I want people like that issued any M16s. He deserved it. Okay, so, I'm kinda a pod person and play a long game. My ex never bothered to pay attention and thought he was always smarter than me. I was finishing school and became deeply depressed and thought that finishing school would make my depression go away. I was right, but he didn't see that. But, before he broke up with me, he helped me move. He used the occasion to steal all paperwork for my dog. After we broke up, he decided that my dog was actually his and made my life heck because I wouldn't just give him my dog. He called the cops all the time saying I had robbed his place, that I stole his dog, that I did all these terrible things. The police, or someone posing as them, never figured that out, would call my boss at my new job. He told everyone we knew that I was some nutjob threatening him. He sued me for my dog in superior court. Well, I assume so because he never specified that he wanted the dog back in the complaint. I answered in a way only an attorney could figure out how to resolve, so he never prosecuted the suit further. But he then broke into my apartment while I was at work and stole my dog. It was awful. He had secretly made a copy of my keys when he had helped me move, and I don't know if he had been in my place before that incident. I wasn't able to get a restraining order and it took the police 9 months to assign a detective. I told the cops not to bother because he had given away my dog to his relative on the other side of the country by that point. So, through all this I kept my hands and thoughts to myself. I gathered up all paperwork I could get. I filed notices to the court in his suit against me with updates about the dog napping. Then, I waited. I know that in the long run everything evens out and I would have my day. About 18 months after he stole my dog, I got all calls from the security clearance people in the army. A shat enlisted to a position requiring clearance. It was a job he had been wanting. Well, I said I'd be happy to tell the agency everything I knew. I gathered up my file, made notes, booked the nice conference room at my nice office, made a copy of the paperwork for the investigator, etc. It was a nearly 4-hour interview. I gave them everything. How he stole my dog, who his Adderall dealer was, how he hated different religious groups, you name it. He didn't get his clearance, never went to the Army's language school and got stuck at a podunk base in West Texas for 5 years. He's now fat, bald, single, unemployed and sleeping on his kid brother's couch. Life equals fricked over. When I was around 6, a friend and I were playing around on my street. He was riding a bike and I had a hockey stick that I was shooting rocks with. I had the brilliant idea that I wanted to jam the hockey stick right into my friend's spokes, because that would be hilarious, right? Anyways, he fell. He hit his head. It took him about 10 years to get rid of a stutter he developed that day. Yes, I felt and still feel absolutely horrible. Thank God he has a sense of humor. My younger cousin did that exact same thing, only it was a game both boys were playing. The cousin got his face smashed in, had a huge fat lip for weeks, but I guess it cut his upper lip tie, which they were going to cut anyhow for braces, and it ended up saving his parents money on the surgery. In college, one of my closest friends was this crazy dude that we'll call C. Sophomore year it was me, 2 other dudes and C hanging out every day. Eventually me and the 2 other dudes joined the same fraternity. C wasn't given a bid because his grades didn't make the minimum requirement. So slowly over time we hung out with C less and less because he started to resent our fraternity for denying him a bid. C started hanging out with the wrong crowd that was into Oxys and Xanax and over time slowly became a junkie. We tried hanging out with him, but his behavior started to become more erratic, with him stealing from people and randomly picking fights with people during parties. We had this one huge fight where we banned him from the house. A couple months later we left the band because we wanted to bury the hatchet. C came over that night and stayed at the party till everyone was basically passed out. Someone caught him stealing wallets out of passed out people's pockets, and he also had one of our brother's cell phones in his pocket. He got his butt kicked by one of our brothers and physically thrown out of the house. The next day I realized I was missing money and some medication from my room. I was so angry I looked up his dad's phone number and told him that his son was a junkie that steals from people to support his habit. The last I've heard of C was that his parents withdrew him from college and put him in inpatient rehab. You didn't ruin his life, but you just might have saved it. Being in college wasn't going to do any good for him with a raging habit that was just getting worse. I thought this dude at work stole $40 from me, so I told the manager. It ended up he didn't take it. It was just my mom who borrowed before I left for work that day and didn't mention it to me. I apologized to the guy, but we work in a grocery store with lots of security cameras and management kept a close eye on him for that short period of time. They realized he had been taking boxes of food home. Thing is, the guy is in his early 30s, has 4 kids, a wife who is out of work, and the job plus the food he was stealing from the store, which was all he had to support his family, was gone now. He actually got arrested at work and now has a criminal record on top of that. He had about 10 years seniority at the store and was probably hoping to use that to move up a little bit. All gone within a couple days. The dude cold avoided arrest but told the manager that it's not a big deal since he'd been stealing for years to support his family. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.